they didn't have an avenue to use some of these physical therapies that I was using to help, like the NewFit newbie or the sciatic sleeves or the swimming, all that. And so my whole belief was, how can I help others? How can I get these physical therapies to others that have MS and keep them mobile? Because keeping them mobile is joyful.
Have you been diagnosed with MS and you're looking outside your typical medical system for more answers? You're definitely not alone. Hi, I'm Adrienne. I'm a nutritionist and a certified MS Integrative Nutritional Health Coach, and I've helped and interviewed so many people who have reversed this disease holistically, and so can you. If you're serious about getting back to health and learning all the steps to do so, join my community. I've got a free version and a version that's very affordable. I've got coaching sessions. I've got 2 courses, a mini course and a 12-week course. I've got special guests that have deep smarts and healing that come on once a month. And I've got lots of resources. So if you'd like to scale your healing and get back to the healthy person you once were, come join me. And when you first join, it's free. And then you can decide later if you want to upgrade. So just go to my webpage, nourishyourway.com, and hit join the community button. It's that simple. So let's dive into the topic today. Welcome back to the podcast or my YouTube channel. I've got both. But I want to introduce somebody really special today. His name is Steve Dorfler, and he is the founding member of Persevering One Step at a Time Foundation. And he is a MS survivor, and he has a story for us, and he has a really neat nonprofit foundation and organization that we're going to learn more about. So thank you, Steve, for joining me.
Adrienne, thanks so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to having this conversation with you, speaking a little bit more about my story as well as more so about our foundation.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so tell me how this all started, right? So you developed MS and then you started this foundation to help other people, which I'm all about. And yeah, so tell me what happened with you.
Yeah, well, the foundation was created years after I had MS, but let me start with my diagnosis on MS. My business partner and I bought out our previous owner in 2006. He was the majority owner. We bought him out. And then in 2009, and my business partner was the CEO, I was president. He came to me and he had juvenile diabetes since age 12. He came to me in 9 saying, I was just diagnosed with MS. And it was a gut punch for me because I had so much respect and love for him. And I just knew, I didn't know that much about MS, but I knew coupled with diabetes, probably not great. Well, ironically, fast forward 2 years, we're going to our youngest daughter's graduation. And I had my contacts in and I'm driving and I'm thinking there's something wrong here. I'm just not focused. The eyes aren't tracking. It's really weird. Well, within 3 days, I had full-blown double vision. So at that time, they had an emergency MRI, and that kind of gets your attention when you have that. What they found, it was nerve palsy 6, but they didn't find any major lesions on my brain. They didn't do any kind of cervical scans or any of that. Is mainly a brain scan. And I was fearing MS a little bit at that time. But they said, well, just give it 12 weeks and hopefully it'll just ease out, which fortunately it did. But I had leg weakness, leg tingling, couldn't walk as well as I used to. And I couldn't ride my bike as well. I just knew that there was something wrong, but I just didn't want to deal with it. And so months went by and I wasn't getting better because I kept feeling I was going to get better. Months went by, diagnosed April 2012. And in 5 months, I was supposed to leave the company as CEO because my business partner was retiring as CEO. And I was feeling pretty decent at that time, so I felt like I could commit to being the leader, and I did. But slowly that progression of the disease, and I knew it would be a bit of a challenge because nearly all my lesions were in my spine, and that's where lower mobility gets a little tricky. And so that was kind of the start of me in my pathway to my diagnosis. And I did a lot of therapy. I did diets, and I really prolonged things as best I could. Now, I retired as CEO in 2023 from Metalcraft. We're a company that provides identification nameplates and labels. We do a lot of RFID or radio frequency identification. So if you have a car wash in your area or you have a toll, if there's a label on it, chances are that's kind of maybe our label. That's our business. And I stepped down as CEO in 2023. I just didn't have the energy any longer, and finally had developed a really sound succession plan to turn the reins over to new leadership. Well, I want to talk a little bit about, if I can, so that gives you kind of a little bit about just my journey through MS anyway, Adrienne.
Sure. Yeah. How do you feel today? Have you made any improvements? I'm just curious.
Yeah, unfortunately, as much as effort as I put into it, the last couple of years have been pretty rough on me. The only drug I've ever been on has been Mavenclad, and that was the reason I went on it. Been 3-4 years ago. It's a 2-year deal with that. The only reason I went on is because it showed pretty good results on stopping progression. Well, that wasn't necessarily the case for me. And it is a challenge to walk. I don't walk very far, very often. So 50 yards, 75 yards of a walk would be really good for me. Swimming is outstanding for me. Mm-hmm. So that is something that I very much try to do. Fortunately, I've got an endless pool in our house, and it's right outside the house, and it has an underwater treadmill, so it can keep me moving, because it's much easier to walk in water for me, for anybody, than it is on land, just because of your body mass in the water.
Right. Well, do you want to talk about your nonprofit?
Yeah, I would. It's really an interesting story of how I got into this. So I want to go back right before I was diagnosed with MS, before I had problems.
Yeah.
In 2010.
Okay.
And our oldest son was a competitive golfer. He played in college, and he was between his junior and senior year. So I said, hey, the U.S. Open is in Pebble Beach, and that's just a glorious place. It's a golf mecca. It's a glorious place to go. Why don't you and I, we'll take a guy's trip out there. We'll play a little golf. We'll watch the U.S. Open, and we'll have 4 great days out there, which we did. We flew out. We played golf. We attended the U.S. Open that Saturday. He was in his element. We were running from hole to hole, all the big names out there. Well, as we were making our way in towards the ocean on the 14th hole, we're walking down the left side, and all of a sudden we hear this 4 left, and we immediately look up, and it's a beautiful sky. And I pick up the ball coming right over our head. And at that point, I lost my balance and tumbled down. Now, that was, looking back, that was one of a few things that was, maybe a prelude to having that diagnosis of MS. And of course, our son, he's running down there, and he's got the arms out, with the ball. And I run down to catch up with them, and we didn't know who hit the shot. So in comes, and he's Northern Ireland Graham McDowell. And it was just kind of cool being that close to him and his caddy. And so we followed him for the rest of the round. And he was not on top of the leaderboard, but he was on the leaderboard. Well, we flew back that next day early, and then we watched the finish of it at home, and lo and behold, Graham McDowell wins the U.S. Open. It was just kind of neat to be fairly close to him. Well, now let's fast forward ahead to 2022, when I'm still able to play a little bit of golf. But if I can play 9 holes, it's a great day. So our son came down we were in Florida. Our son came down. We played some golf. I have these walking sticks that I use to walk up on the tee. I kind of get set. I give him the sticks. It's a process, and then I hit. Well, unbeknownst to me, he videoed that, and then he sent it out on his Twitter account. I wasn't into really social media at that time. He sent it out to his Twitter account. It literally went viral. It got like 4.5 million views.
Wow.
All these big names, and Phil Mickelson comment. He didn't comment, but he gave a thumbs up. You had a lot of people comment on it, and the PGA picked up on it. And so the PGA picks up on it and says, "Hey, we'd like to do a story about you and your dad, because we want to really get behind the MS movement. Would you be willing to do that?" Well, sure. Well, we have an event called the Grant Thornton event. It's a small event, but it's in Naples. Can you make that? Well, yeah, absolutely. Because we have a golfer on that. We have a PGA touring pro that has a direct connection with MS. He has a family member, direct connection. We'd like you to spend some time with them. Man, that sounds awesome. Yes. So we planned this trip, and then I said, I told Jared, I'd like to know who it is. So we asked, and you know who it was?
Who?
Graham McDowell. The guy that I tumbled down, and that we were within 5 feet, 7 feet of him. It was his mother that has MS. And he started a foundation. Prince of a guy. He spent an hour and a half with us. It was fantastic. Well, my whole thought was at that time, this is the Holy Spirit speaking to me that maybe I need to do something here, besides just for myself, but do something for others. And that was the first of it. And then I had what I'll call 2 more little interventions along the way. And I said in late 2024, we're doing this, because my opinion, and I saw this with our support group in North Iowa, those people they're strapped financially. A lot of people are that have MS. They didn't have an avenue to use some of these physical therapies that I was using to help, like the NewFit newbie, or the Sonic sleeves, or the swimming, all that. And so my whole belief was, how can I help others? How can I get these physical therapies to others that have MS and keep them mobile? Because keeping them mobile is joyful. The team, when I retired as CEO, they gifted me a hand cycle, which was glorious, because I hadn't ridden a bike in 5-6 years, and it got me back on the trails, because I was an avid cyclist. It got me back on the trails, and it's just mentally and physically, and the joy of that was tremendous. So my whole thought was, I want to bring that to individuals and see if I can help change some lives or help improve some lives.
I love that, Steve. And then what are the chances that, you meet Graham and his mother?
That whole thing was,
I think not. Sorry.
That was predestined. That was all in the plan. It was just, and I look back, and it's still, I'm getting I get a little emotional thinking about that right now, just because I think, well, that was part of the plan here. You're going to go through this, and we're going to have this, you're going to have this connection to this person here, and that's going to be the start of it.
I love that. Okay, so I'm looking at your website,
Yeah,
And you have some proven therapies here. You just talked about a few.
sure.
So if somebody has mobility issues with MS and they want to know more about, how you can help them out, what can they do? What would you tell them?
Yeah, great question. My first thought is review the information. It's not a lot. Love to talk to them. So if they really are wanting to have more information, I'd love to speak with them, or shoot me an email. If you really don't want to talk initially, shoot me an email with your questions. Be happy to address those. My phone number's on the website. I'd be happy to talk to anybody who's really interested. Like if there was another former cyclist out there that just couldn't do this and they're interested in saying, hey, tell me more about this hand cycle. I'd love to talk. I'd love to talk about how that's been positive and how that's affected me. And by the way, it's also really good exercise. On top of that, it's really great exercise to get out of the cycle.
Yeah, I'm with you, Steve. Even if people are not very mobile, there's always a way to move the body, right?
Yes.
So I talk about, chair yoga, move your arm weights, anything you can do, because it's so good for you and it keeps you living. You've got 6 to 7 different things on your website, which I think are fantastic. You've got New Fit Newbie, you've got ellipse by leg exercise, you've got MS workouts. These are fantastic. Can you explain a little bit more about, because I have a client who's doing the New Fit Newbie. Can you explain how that works to people that don't know about it?
Sure. I was first introduced to the New Fit Newbie probably like 4 years ago. My wife actually did some research on it. She does a lot of research for me. She did some research on it and said to me, you got to try this. And I read about it. And the challenge was there just weren't that many places that had the newbie. There was one in Florida. There were actually 2 in Florida. And the one I went to, it was a former professional hockey player that he had a physical therapist on staff, and he had a gym there as well. He had access to this. I used it, and the beautiful thing is they mapped out where the neurological paths were still in my muscles and my legs. In other words, they still send signals. They could still develop those muscles. They mapped all that out. It took an hour to map all that out. Then they set up an exercise routine for me. And it was, where I was coming 3 days a week for an hour. And it was $150 a pop. They didn't mess with insurance. So that'd be a big drawback for a lot of people. They're not going to be able to pay $150 a pop or $450 a week. And then I started doing the math thinking, well, and why don't we just try to invest in this ourselves? And we did. It's not an inexpensive piece of equipment. Today, it's roughly $18,000 without the training. With the training, it's roughly about $21,000 to get the full blown. That's on training on site. So what this machine does is it provides pads, electrical pads that you put on your muscles that provides electrical stimulation to those muscles as you do exercises. So the whole process is it's stimulating the muscle. You do the exercise, you build the muscle. So, whether you're doing a contraction or not, it is stimulating that muscle to build muscle mass. So that's really the advantage of that. It's not meant to just necessarily put on, like for me, it's legs. It's all lower body. It's not meant just to put on the leg and think, okay, I don't have to do anything. You got to work at it. And the workouts that they devise are pretty rigorous. And after an hour, you're at least I am. I'm a little wiped out after an hour. So
Sure.
that's a little bit about how the newbie works here. We just our local hospital, Mercy One North Iowa rehab. The foundation just donated one, and they just installed it, and they're really excited, because in reality, that's the beautiful thing about, if we can put them in nonprofits, then it can help more people. As if we would gift this to one person, it's helping that one. It's really expensive, and it's helping that one individual. So
Sure.
our mission is to put him in other nonprofit clinics or associated with nonprofit hospitals. And the beautiful thing about this too is it is covered by Medicare or other insurance coverage, and they don't have to charge extra for the newbie cost, because the foundation is paying for all that.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, and I also saw that you have a application on your site.
Yes.
So tell us how that works.
Yeah, we have an application. What we'd like to do is we want to screen. One, we want to know, first of all, we set up the foundation because we want to help people with these proven therapies that really just do not have the financial wherewithal to make that investment. So this form is just tell us a little bit about yourself, tell us a little bit about your financial situation, then we can evaluate that. Tell us why you want this, and then we can evaluate that better. And I'd like to have a conversation with them too. And then we can say, okay, what's best? How is this going to work out best for you? And then we can make that decision if we provide that grant. I want to err on the side of being generous with the grants rather than being too conservative on the grants. That's where we're at right now. And fortunately, we have done very well. I've been very blessed with donations to date. So we're in a healthy position, especially just being granted a 501c3 in August. We're in pretty good shape. Now we want to continue that fundraising, but we're in pretty good shape there. So we're building a very solid foundation that can help a lot of people here.
I think that's super exciting, Steve. I mean, that's pretty amazing that you're doing this. I mean, looking at your website again, the hand cycle. I'm looking at the price of that. That is not cheap. $5,000 to $8,000.
Yeah. The one the one that I have is roughly about $6,500, but it's a beautiful machine, and it's actually an e-cycle as well. So you have a little assist if you're in a hilly area, because the arm muscles aren't as big as your leg muscles. I'm going to tell you that. Right. Yeah, I found that out pretty fast. Yeah.
You can't go uphill for very long.
The arm muscles just aren't. Yeah, it's a challenge to get up. You got to gear it down and use a little bit of e-assist. Yeah.
What out of everything on your website here that you provide is there, do you have a favorite? Is there one that's helped you the most on here?
Yeah, the one that's helped me the most has been the pool.
The pool.
Yeah, the endless pool. Yeah, the endless pool, just because water is such a great therapy. You can't, it's very difficult to get injured in water because you're swimming, it's resistance swimming against water. And plus with the underwater treadmill, which allows me to continue walking, getting that motion going, whereas it's much harder for me to do that on land, where I can walk for 15 minutes in water on the underwater treadmill. I can't walk for 15 minutes on land. So that really helps. Now, the one that I think has a lot of impact, the newbie has a lot of impact, but the one that's most economical to me that would have a lot of impact is the MS workouts. And those folks have done a tremendous job putting together workout routines and it's dedicated for MS. They have people that are experts in it, and it's pretty economical. It's roughly about $500 a year, which is still can be expensive. And it's a subscription basis. You buy it by month, but they have workout routines, whether you can do standing or whether it's a chair routine, so you can't stand. And it's all based upon a band resistance, right? It's band resistance, and then they have a lot of stretching programs. But they're very intentional in putting together excellent materials. So if a person would do their program, a couple of times a week and mix it in with some other, that would be excellent as well.
That's awesome. So is this something that somebody can do online?
Yeah, that's the other beautiful thing about it is you download it. It's very easy, and you do it right online. They have a clock on there and everything. So they tell you, the instructor, as you're doing these exercises, the instructor is essentially doing them with you. And then they have a clock there. Most of these are set up to do for 90 seconds. So they're not any kind of short term. It's the length of time rather than short term, harder kind of an approach. And they're set up for roughly, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. You can do the workout routine. The stretching routine is 10 to 15, somewhere in that range.
Okay. So when if people sign up for this,
Yeah.
and let's say they really like this program,
Yes.
and then they apply for it,
Yeah.
and then maybe they get the grant from you to
Yes.
sign up for a year. Is that something that's possible?
Absolutely. So if they want to sign up, and I believe they can sign up for like 3 months. I don't think they have to sign up for a year right away. They can sign up for short
To
term.
try it out.
You have to try it out. Yeah. And if it's something, but knowing that, look, this is pretty difficult for me to swing all the time. Sure. Yeah. We'd be happy to do that. All that we ask there is we just want to know at the end of that period, or at each year or each interval, shall we say, how is it working for them? Are they using it?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what your success with that is.
Yeah.
Because the last thing what we want to do is, I would love to get a hand cycle in somebody's hands and they tell me a year later, I got 2,000 miles on the cycle. I would love that. The last thing I want to do is get a hand cycle out there and somebody says, I got 100 miles on it.
Well,
they didn't use it.
It's in the garage or somewhere, right? You don't want that.
I wouldn't want that, because essentially I want to get the money routed to people that truly want to take
really
advantage of this.
Use it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That totally makes sense. Okay. Did we cover everything about your organization here? Is there anything you want to say more about it?
I think we covered a lot of ground. I just want to encourage people. I want to encourage your listeners to please reach out to me. I'm more than available and happy to speak with them about any of the proven therapies or other things too that they want to bring to my attention that I'm not aware of. But if they have any questions, please have them reach out to me. I would love it.
That's great. And then of course you're open for donations as well.
Oh, absolutely. We can take donations online or by check. Actually, of course, if somebody makes a $200 donation online, as an example, we're not going to get the $200. We're going to get about $190 because of the fees involved, right? But if somebody gives us a $200 check, we get the $200 check. And our admin, the one thing I will mention about our foundation is we have set this up very professionally. We have a board of 3. I have our 2 daughters involved as advisory board, just because I didn't want to put all family on this. And the IRS doesn't like that anyway.
Sure.
And they've both been CEOs. So they provide a lot of guidance. We meet on a quarterly basis. I would say right now, within the first year, our administrative cost, and a lot of this has gone to the attorneys to set this up, as well as some literature. Our admin fees are, less than 5%. So somebody gives us, somebody makes a donation of $100, the foundation has 95. Available to help people.
Perfect. Perfect, Steve. This is wonderful. I hope people reach out to you and maybe get some donations as well.
Oh yeah, that's always marvelous. I think if the foundation, my thought process is, if the foundation's run well and you have a really good purpose and you're passionate about it, somehow the money will show up. My whole focus is on the flip side of that, is saying, how do I get grants out there? That's my whole focus, is not to raise money. And not to say that's not important, but that'll come. My focus is saying, how do I get grants out there?
I love that, Steve. Well, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I really appreciate, just kind of in closing for me, I really appreciate you allowing me to be on your podcast and using this forum. I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the questions you've asked me today. So really, thanks again for giving me this forum.
You're welcome, Steve. You're awesome. Thanks for doing this.
If you liked the episode, please share it and rate the podcast, and then also join my newsletter. And it's easy to get on my list. Just go to my website, nourishyourway.com, go to the newsletter tab and sign up. And then I'll give you healing information once a week, so you won't miss anything. And I also include a recipe of the week. Thanks for joining me today, and you'll hear from me in the near future.